Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friend Diagram. This is the podcast where two friends catch up and find common ground between their favorite media. I'm Remy.
I'm Kat, and today we'll be comparing notes on Fringe and Nope. Warning, spoilers ahead. Yay!
Yay!
It's been so long since we've recorded a real episode.
I know, you've been away on vacation.
Yes. I had a very rejuvenating vacation, but did miss 2 of our Sunday recording dates because of it, so we're getting back into it. This week's been a big week because, time-wise, you guys have been having episodes out for a while now, but for us, we just started releasing our episodes, which has been really exciting.
Yeah, this is the first time where we're recording and our existing episodes, or some of them, are out there in the world and available for consumption. So we're not just literally making it for ourselves anymore.
Yeah, we're making it for 5 people who chose to listen to our episodes.
Which is totally fine.
Which is great. My mom texted me today and said that she listened to the first 1.5 episodes of our podcast. And she said that we're doing a very good job and that she enjoyed it very much.
Aww.
And then she said, "Tell Remy, good job."
Oh. Thank you, Kat's mom.
So yeah, I thought that was a cute interaction. How was your week? How was your weeks? I feel like we haven't talked in so long.
God, we're in the middle of a heat wave right now. I don't know about you. Holy shit. Climate change is just brutal at the moment.
Yeah.
This is the longest heat wave I've experienced in my lifetime. Where we're in high 90s every day. I think this is 6 or 7 days in a row now, and there's gonna be at least 5 more to come. It is unrelenting. I cannot change my clothes enough. I have completely different outfits that I wear just to walk to work, then change when I get to work.
I do that.
Yeah. The other day, this was so embarrassing. You'll love this. The other day, I got to work and I was in my walking outfit because I walk about 25 minutes to get to work across a very sun-exposed area. And so it is so hot and I'm sweating and it's the worst. But I walked in to work, and this woman that works in an area nearby to mine that we chat sometimes. I don't know her terribly well, but we're friendly. She looked at me in my walking clothes and she was like, "Oh, did you run here?"
Oh.
I was like, no.
Rude.
So brutal.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Did you tell Will that story?
I did. He agreed. It was so brutal.
I'm sure she didn't think anything of it. I'm sure she was just impressed that you had the motivation to run. Which you do.
I do that. I also like to think that she just looked at my attire, which was semi-athleisure wear, and was like, "That looks like something someone would run in, regardless of how sweaty they are."
I'm sure that was her thought process. Was like, "Oh, she looks like she had a hard workout, and she's in athletic clothes, so this makes sense." Oh man, yeah, it's been really hot here in the Midwest as well, but I feel like it's normal. I don't know. I'm just used to it because July in the Midwest can get really hot for a really long time. So it's been in the low to mid 90s every day for the past month or so. It's not really a wave. It's just a heat pool that we are constantly living in out here.
It's like a heat lazy river.
Yeah. Oh, God. I would kill for a lazy river right now.
Me too.
Anyways.
Yeah, are those all of our important updates?
I think so.
As soon as you told me the topic you were covering this week, I went and told Will, because it is one of his favorite things of all time in all forms of media. And he almost was interested in guest starring.
Will, come here. Oh my gosh. Maybe he can do a reaction to it.
Maybe. I don't know if the pod can withstand his, like, chaotic energy.
Yeah, it'll make it so much better.
It's a lot to handle.
I love it. Yeah, so the piece of media that I chose this week that we're talking about is the television series Fringe, which aired from 2008 to 2013. And it's a Fox show. And why I'm noting this is because this show is very, 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 very similar to another show that I love called The X-Files. And The X-Files is also a Fox show. Fringe was created by one of the most important names on it is J.J. Abrams, who was like very involved in all of the Star Treks. And I think that that's one of the things that made it so successful was J.J. Abrams' involvement in the writing and producing of the show.
Yeah, because that's still coming off of the Lost series success.
Lost.
That was still going on at the time, but it had already had several years of very high
I forgot that he did
engagement.
Lost as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lost was good too. Not as good as Fringe, though. So Fringe it's like general genre is science fiction, and I'm going to try very hard not to give away major spoilers for the show, because I think that the overarching arc of the show is so well done, unlike The X-Files. The X-Files, each individual episode is great on its own, but once you get into like the government conspiracy part of everything, it kind of falls apart and you get lost in it. But Fringe does a really good job at everything tying together really nicely across seasons and as like an overarching plot that makes sense. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody because I think that the show is still worth watching if you've never seen it before. It is currently streaming on Amazon Prime, but technically you'll still get ads with it because it is through a different service called Freevee. So it's Freevee. And the ads aren't that aversive. It's just kind of like cable commercials, but that's where I've been watching that recently.
And how many seasons did you say it was?
It is 5 seasons. And I have not rewatched all 5 yet. I'm currently mid-season 3, so I'll only be kind of talking about it up to there, but you can't really get into seasons 2 and 3 without giving too much away, so I'm not going to get too in-depth, but I want to touch on a lot of different things.
Sounds good.
So, Fringe is centered around a small ragtag government group. They're technically FBI, so the main character, the main character, Olivia Dunham, is an FBI agent that becomes a liaison for a different case. Anyways, she's a government liaison for a different government organization. They become interested in her, and they create a new department around her and 2 consultants that are civilian consultants. One being Walter Bishop, who is an older individual. I think he's in his 70s in the show. He is a scientist that has been in a mental institution for the last 13 years, I believe. And his experiments and work have been continued in a very nefarious way. Mm-hmm. And his work from like the 70s has been continued and is currently being used for like bioterrorist means. And so they call him in on the first initial case to help solve it. And in doing that, they need his son to get him released from the mental institution that he is at. So the second civilian consultant is Peter Bishop, his son. He is very smart, kind of like a con man type person. So he is kind of like a criminal turned good guy for the FBI. He like faked MIT credentials to work as a professor for a while and stuff like that. So he's a very smart guy and basically kind of manages his father, who is this mad scientist character. And they form this group called the Fringe Division. And the Fringe Division is responsible for investigating unexplained phenomena that like can't be investigated by normal FBI. And they're also attempting to prevent worldwide destruction by an alternate dimension. So that is like the biggest spoiler I'm going to give you.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we're getting into some really cool sci-fi stuff, talking about alternate dimensions and just like some really cool biology concepts that are like really fun thought experiments. And I will note that I am a scientist, so I find this show satisfying as a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are two main things that I really like about this show. And the first thing I'll talk about is just the science and technology aspect, which I was touching on just now a little bit. This show plays with a lot of scientific concepts in a way that I find really interesting. It kind of reminds me of, now I'm having a hard time remembering the experiments that were done in the 70s where they like gave people LSD.
Mm-hmm.
MK Ultra experiments. It reminds me kind of the MK Ultra experiments. So there's a lot of like government experimentation happening, and also there is a major industry. There's a business called Massive Dynamic in the show is kind of the industry side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And they are like using this technology for profit. And so they're all mixed up in it. So I really liked being able to see all of the different sides of how science is being used. So you can see it in academia. There's like a lab in Harvard, and then you can see it in the government and like experiments that the government is doing, and then experiments that are being done on the industry side of things. And I think that it shows those three facets and how they all interact really interestingly. So I really like that.
And Walter's lab is at Harvard, right?
Yes.
I was trying to remember. I think I've only seen the first season of this, and I watched it in real time on cable in 2008.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's been a minute since I really sat down and watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like trying to remember. I was like, I know Walter had a lab. I was thinking it was MIT, but
it's in the basement at Harvard.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Oh, it's so good. And there's a cow in the lab.
I was just going to say, I remember a cow being there.
I can't remember why he needed the cow. But yeah, so I really love this show. I love all of the characters and all of their interactions with one another. And I just think it's a really, really wholesome show, but it touches on a lot of scientific ethics concepts in the show as well. So like, where do you draw the line in your science? How far is too far? And how far should we seek out knowledge if it could be potentially dangerous? Are you responsible for stopping that search? You know? So there's some experiments on kids that were done, and it's really interesting because basically Walter's experiments have kind of led to this chain reaction that is resulting in consequences for our world and the alternate dimension that is like directly tied to our world. So there's an alternate dimension that would have a different version of Walter, Peter, Olivia, so on and so forth. And Walter, in his pursuit of science and of his pursuit of his research, he opens a doorway into this alternate reality, and it starts to degrade both realities. And importantly, the other reality thinks they're at war with our reality. But we don't conceptualize it like that. We're just, until we interact with that other side, we don't realize that we think we're in a war with each other. And I think that it deals with, one, how far do you go? And then it deals with the accountability of what happens when you have gone too far already. So one thing that I also really like about the science and technology aspect of the show is that I love a monster of the week setup. Mm-hmm. And while this isn't truly a monster of the week scenario, there's basically like a bioterrorist event of the week or like a crime of the week that mm-hmm. they're trying to solve. And it all ties in really well with the main plot, though. Most of the cases are related to the main plot, and I think that that's done particularly well in this show as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, from what I can remember, mm-hmm. I remember it as being sort of a mystery of the week or a case of the week where some event has taken place, mm-hmm. and I think you witnessed some of that in the opening of the episode.
Yes.
And then the team of scientist protagonists have to figure out how this event was accomplished, like via what type of technology and who did it and stuff like that.
Yeah. I just love that formula for a show. I find it very refreshing because when a show is all plot, I kind of get too emotionally invested in it. And I really like the refreshing nature of getting a new case every single time mm-hmm. and not feeling like I'm jumping into the same problems that were happening in the last episode. I think that it's really nice that interpersonal drama is like sprinkled in, but is not the main focus of most episodes, if that makes mm-hmm. sense.
And you get a sense of resolution every mm-hmm. time.
Yes, absolutely. And more so than in a show like X-Files. I have to I'm just comparing it like 1-to-1 with X-Files because I mm-hmm. love both of these shows so much, but there's so much that Fringe did right that X-Files just kind of like fell just a little bit flat on. And it's so cool to like see such an improvement in the same network and see something pulled off almost as well, or just as well, if not better than like a classic. So yeah, I really like the science in the show. I think that the biggest thing that I like about this show is that it centers on this theme of, I really love Walter and I love his character and I love how multifaceted his character is and how you can get into themes like what is fatherhood and how are you a good father and what makes a good father, and also what makes you a good person? How can you forgive yourself and have other people forgive you? Like, I think that forgiveness is such a prominent aspect of especially seasons 1 and 2, because you're seeing so much of Peter and Walter fixing their relationship with each other and growing closer and really becoming a father-son pairing. Where right. in like the first few episodes, Peter just has this absolute hatred for his father and blames his father for his mother dying and just like never felt as close to his father. And now he has kind of become this caretaker to this man who is so different from the man he grew up knowing. In his time at the mental institution, Walter only got worse, and he is so off topic all the time. He's just saying crazy things all the time, which add to like the comedic relief of the show. Mm-hmm. But I just love the childish joy and nature of Walter as right. like a grown old man, and how he is looking back on his life and knowing that he did some pretty sketchy experiments and that his work is being used in a way that it was never intended to be used, and the guilt that he feels and how everyone in the show sees that but knows that it's not the same Walter that was doing those experiments. You're able to separate the current Walter from the Walter he used to be, and I think that makes the forgiveness come a little bit easier to the people in the show.
Right.
Especially Peter, who sees that his dad can't really function without him, and they just have some really, really lovely interactions.
Yeah, he was my favorite as well, from what I can recall. And, like, the most salient features I remember about why I liked him so much was just his sweetness and tenderness, I feel like, and his enthusiasm for what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I agree, he does have kind of like a childlike quality to a lot of his interactions, just because they seem so unguarded. Like, he unlearned how to be resentful and guarded and put up barriers between him and other people. It's like those filters have fallen away for him.
Yes.
And that's often comes across as a really endearing quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And especially in season 1, you just get so much good father-son interaction in that season. And you just get to see people healing from their pasts. And I really enjoy that aspect. I think it was done really well. The emotional beats throughout the entire show are very, very well done. I'll cry about characters I've just been introduced to in that episode. Like the one episode characters in each show, I'm like sobbing for them. And I love that. I usually don't like shows that make me feel like a lot of emotions, but I like the way that this show does it, because it's done in a way that you get resolution, like you said, and also there's just so much relief throughout the show that you get laughter, you get a little bit of sad emotion, you get a little bit of like awkward emotion, and it's really nice. It's a very refreshing show to watch, and very entertaining. But yeah, all of the chemistry between the characters is really lovely as well. I think that they did a really good job on that. Like, I've talked a lot about Peter and Walter and their interactions, because Peter is obviously trying to manage his father and keep him professional in settings with other FBI agents, where he'll just be like sniffing dead corpses or something. And he's like, stop, please stop, Walter. But I really like Broyles. He is the person that recruited Olivia for this job. So Broyles is like her boss, and kind of manages them as a whole. And he is a very serious man, very like calm and serious. But sometimes you'll see him like interact with Walter and he'll not think a joke is funny, or he'll be like, is he being serious right now? And like, I love their interactions, because it's like Walter, who is so excitable and excited about everything, and then Broyles, who is so calm. I love that contrast. I also think some of the most wholesome interactions are between Walter and Astrid.
I was really hoping you'd bring her up.
I love Astrid. Astrid is potentially, I think she's one of my favorite supporting characters in the show. I don't know if I'd call her my favorite, but I love her. And Walter cannot say her name correctly to save his life. He calls her Asterisk. She is basically Walter's de facto caretaker when Peter is not around. So she's like his lab assistant.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought she was the lab tech.
She's actually technically Olivia's personal assistant through the FBI.
What?
But yeah, so she's Olivia's assistant at the FBI, but becomes Walter's like lab tech, but also goes and buys him like ingredients for strawberry milkshakes.
She does it all.
Oh gosh, I love her. There's an episode where Peter gets very angry at Walter and leaves. And basically Walter's living on his own for a couple weeks, and then Astrid and Olivia come to like check on him, and his house is a mess. And Astrid was like, Walter, why didn't you like come to us for help? And he's like, I've got to know how to live on my own. And I love that it touches on like losing your independence as you as you age, and your inability to be independent, and wanting to fight that and not wanting to ask for help, because I think that it's such a scary part of aging. Yeah. Like not being able to drive yourself places and not being able to go to the grocery store and remember how to get home. And the actor that plays Walter does such a fantastic job of showing the fear of being lost and being old and not remembering things. And it's so like heart-wrenching when you see him so helpless and unable to like fend for himself in this like really scary world.
Right.
But then like there are really good people who want to help him and love him. And I think that that's just so nice and wholesome that he like has this group of people that want him to succeed and want him to navigate the world in a seemingly normal way and want to give him some independence. It's just like, it's very touching.
I think it's really interesting what a big part of his character this aging process is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really interesting tie-in to the character arc of his lifetime that you were describing earlier, where his earlier life was marked by kind of blind ambition and disregard for, the safety of other humans and things like that. And it can be really easy to think like that when you're like a really accomplished scientist, I guess, because you're so removed from the people you're potentially impacting. Mm-hmm. And you can take this character like Walter Bishop, who is clearly like basically a genius and has superhuman intellect. But at the end of the day, he is a human and he is vulnerable to the processes of aging and cognitive decline, just like all other humans. Mm-hmm. And as the arc of his character sort of arcs down toward that ramp of cognitive decline, he is returning to his humanity as a person, though. Yes. Because he recognizes the flaws of himself as a younger scientist and as a younger father and all of those things in his past. As he goes through this aging process, he becomes much more of a human character.
Yeah. And then I also love interactions. Just Walter's so goofy. He wants Peter to end up with Olivia, and so he'll like call Olivia and be like, something's really important, you've got to come over. And then he'll have like made pancakes and he like runs out of the house and like leaves Peter and Olivia to have pancakes together. And I just think that that's so cute. That he's like trying to set up his son with Olivia. It's so cute. And then obviously Peter and Olivia have like fantastic chemistry together. There's like a lot of like really well done sexual tension, and just it's kind of like a will they won't they for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And I live for it. I'm absolutely in love with Peter, and it's fun.
I love a will they won't they.
And also he's cranky. I just have like such a thing for a cranky main dude. I love it. It's just like a very tender show in a lot of places and very wholesome. And I think that it's so interesting because you see, I want to go back to the aging thing again because it's such a prominent aspect of the show. And you see Walter becoming this like cognitively lesser version of himself, but a better version of himself. Like,
exactly.
Because he is aged and doesn't have his faults as a younger man. He's just like a much better father and a much better person as a whole, and can like really see the consequences of everything he's done and feel remorse for them and want to fix things. And I love that he's a less prideful man, and that is no longer inhibiting him from having like these very fulfilling interactions and relationships. And I guess technically Walter's the main character because I can't stop talking about him. Gosh, it's so good. But yeah, it's so good. And I think that if you're going to watch any show that has more than 3 seasons, it should be this one. Like, if you are going to commit to any show, I think that this one is worth a watch and feels like it goes by so quickly. I can never get enough of it. It's just, I'll probably start it again. I'm trying to get Scott to watch it with me. So
he's never seen it?
He's never seen it.
That surprises me. It seems like he'd like it.
He doesn't watch a lot of television. He'd never seen X-Files either before we started dating. So,
wow.
Yeah. I'm really excited to watch it again.
Yeah.
And I haven't even finished this watch through. But
you love a rewatch.
I do. I love to know everything already.
That's so funny.
Like, I don't like the suspense, if that makes sense. So, like,
I know what you're saying.
What the stakes are because I've already seen it.
I know exactly what you're saying, and I couldn't disagree more about how I feel about what I want in my watching experience.
No, I know. We're just very different. We're very different.
I was thinking that when you said earlier how you don't like feeling too many strong emotions when you're watching something. And I was like, man, Kat and I are so different. I want all the emotions. I want the hardest emotions. The rawest emotions. I want the suspense, I want the surprise, and I want the novelty. That's what I'm all about. That's why I always cover things that are, like,
brand
hot
new.
And fresh and new, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm always like, yeah, I watched this movie from, like, the 1940s.
Oh, man. That's why we balance each other out so well.
I feel like you're the more exciting one.
I'm just a novelty seeker at heart.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But there's so much that's old, so I've got a bunch of things to cover.
So much that's old. Yes.
I feel like we don't talk about Fringe enough. I feel like it's just like such a good show, but if you just pull any person off the street and ask them if they've watched Fringe, I just feel like most people would not even know what I was talking about.
Maybe. I don't know.
I was so surprised when I learned that Will liked Fringe because I thought that I was literally the only person that I knew that watched Fringe, except for the one person in college that showed it to me.
That's weird.
So email me if you have watched Fringe and like it, and then we can be friends.
frienddiagrampod@gmail.com.
Yes. You'll hear it again at the end, so get your drafts ready. Attention, Kat.
Attention, Kat.
Because we get so many emails.
Yeah. Oh, God, I'm just sifting through all of these emails.
Yeah, tell me. I just want to do a survey of our listeners. The 5 of you that exist. Who's watched Fringe? Who wants to be my new bestie? And also, Remy, you've got to watch Fringe.
I've seen it, but I should finish it.
Also, I really love Charlie. Sorry, I didn't give Charlie enough love. He is only in seasons 1 and 2, and then just like sprinkled here and there. He's her partner from the FBI originally, like before she started in Fringe. And he has so much witty banter. I love him. And he and Olivia have such like a rapport, which is really nice because you get Olivia interacting with all of these new people that she's just starting to form relationships with. But then you get her with like her old friend and you get to see like that side of her. And I really love that and how much they care for one another.
I need to look up who that actor is really quick because I think I gotta see a picture of him. Oh, Lance Reddick plays Broyles.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, he's amazing. Kirk Acevedo.
Let me see this guy. Oh yeah, I know him from Band of Brothers. I knew him from somewhere.
I love him. He's really good, and I just love this show so much.
This is a really minor point, but I enjoy the interstitial transitions that they have. Those screens that it's like a black screen with an image in between the ad breaks and stuff.
Like the 6 fingers, or like the butterfly with a grafted on dragonfly wing or something.
Yeah, I always really liked those. I feel like one was a lizard, maybe.
Yeah, one is a lizard.
Yeah.
But they're all like different anomaly type things.
Exactly.
Esque things. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Pleasing.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful.
You don't have to pay for a subscription to watch it. You can get it on Amazon Prime Video without a membership through Freevee, or you can just get it through Freevee directly.
You can purchase it sans ads like Will did. He owns all seasons. Yes. Personally, which is great.
You can do that. I might have to do that at some point because I hate when it gets taken from me. Have you ever found like a show that you want to watch and you want everyone to watch it and you want it to be there forever and then Netflix takes it down?
Twin Peaks. Help. Bring it back, please. I need it. Hey, Netflix. Yeah, I can't sit through a fucking ad to save my life. I've been streaming only for... I haven't had a television in at least 10 or so years.
Oh.
And when I go to, like, my mom's house during holidays and we watch cable television live on TV, I'm like, oh my god. These ad breaks are unending. We watch Jeopardy.
Oh, I love Jeopardy.
I love Jeopardy too. Every time we watch, my mom's like, you should go on Jeopardy.
Oh.
I could never do it. I would never want to be on camera, and I'm not great at mental math.
You wear a mask. You wear like
a Batman mask. I wonder if they would let me do it. They'd invent like a new show that's a mix between The Masked Singer and Jeopardy, where you do trivia but with costumes on, and people have to guess who you are based on how good you are at trivia. That's going to exist in the next 3 years, I bet.
I love that.
I hate it.
But yeah, that's all I got. I could talk about this all day, though. You watched a new thing this weekend.
I did watch a new thing, naturally.
Fresh off the press, didn't it?
Very
just
on brand.
Come out?
It did. I mean, at the time of recording, this film came out 2 days ago.
Nice.
So this week I'm covering the 2022 film Nope. It's written and directed by Jordan Peele. This is his third film that he's written and directed, and this was my most anticipated film of the year. This is my event that I've been looking forward to for a long time. And I have thoroughly enjoyed both of Jordan Peele's 2 previous films, and I was very, very interested in what I could see from the trailer for Nope. Have you seen the trailer at all? Do you know anything about it?
I don't. Should I just quick watch it? Horses. This is a Nope trailer reaction video. Oh my gosh, is it aliens? That looks good.
Yeah.
Was that the guy from Get Out?
Get Out? Yes. Nope stars Daniel Kaluuya, who was the star of Get Out, Keke Palmer, Brandon Perea, and Steven Yeun are the main leads of the film. And so yeah, I'm going to do my best since it's such a new film. I know this won't come out for at least a few weeks, but still, if you haven't seen the film, I'm gonna discuss the content that would be apparent from watching the trailer or maybe seeing a movie poster, and hopefully that's acceptable to most people, since I think a lot of people go into films with at least seeing the trailer. But if you want to go in cold completely, I respect that, and just listen to this after you've seen it, because it will give away, a couple key things. So basically, the plot of the movie is that you have Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer. They are brother and sister, and they are sort of heirs to this ranch/business that their family have had for generations, where they train horses for filming films and TV and commercial and different Hollywood productions. They train the horses to do, whatever horses have to do for a movie. And they are basically Daniel Kaluuya. He is kind of shouldering the burden of running this company and doing all the work after their father passes away, who was the main guy running the business previously. And so they sort of have a complex, maybe strange relationship that you are deciphering at the beginning of the film, just because it seems like Daniel has shouldered a lot more of the hands-on work with the ranch and with the horses than Kiki Palmer's character Emerald has in their father's absence. And their horse ranch is located in California in a place called Agua Dulce. I don't know if that's a real place. I'm assuming it is. But they're out in this really picturesque valley surrounded by mountains. And on the opposite side of this valley, there's like an Old West style theme park that is run by Stephen Yeun's character. And it's like a really touristy spot where you would go and see kind of, I don't know how to describe it, it's just like a really kitschy Wild West kids amusement park type thing. Mm-hmm. And you find out that the horse ranch business has been struggling since their father passed away, and you kind of see Daniel Kaluuya trying to carry on without him and what the dynamics are like when he's on set as the horse wrangler and the way that he gets treated by other members of the crew and things of that nature. And so you get insight into some of the tensions there as well. But the main crux of the story is the fact that these strange occurrences start happening on the horse ranch in this valley. And they become really salient when horses start disappearing and when Daniel sees something suspicious in the clouds fleetingly. And so if you've seen the trailer, you can, I think, surmise that this is more of a sci-fi horror film dealing with extraterrestrial things. And it's really funny because when you compare Nope to Jordan Peele's other films, I would say that it is both the most scary and the least scary of his films.
That's so interesting.
I would say it's the most scary because there is a B plot that deals with Stephen Yeun's backstory. Mm. You see some flashbacks to his work in the entertainment industry as a child, and those B-plot flashbacks tap into a particular fear of mine, like an actual, probably one of the only very strong near phobia level fears that I have. Mm-hmm. Kat, you and I have discussed it before. I don't want to give it away. I don't know if you remember it. It's been a while since we've talked about
our deepest, darkest
my
fears.
Few tangible fears.
You can tell me and I'll cut it out.
Anyway, if you've seen the film, it's all the stuff with Gordy and Gordy's house. I fucking hate Gordy. I hate everything to do with Gordy and his whole situation. I hate that that is a plausible thing that could have existed and happened. Uh-huh. And I think anyone that is involved in that type of situation or industry is an absolute fool and asking for
I love that.
Violence. And I just I think I'm not alone because of all of the reactions I've seen on Twitter. People are reacting very strongly to the Gordy scenes.
I don't think that's a phobia. I think that that's just logical.
I hope so.
I feel like everybody should be scared of Gordy. Yeah, that just seems logical. That's not
God. They were chilling, though. They were truly chilling. And it's a credit to Jordan Peele because the opening scene of the movie is one of those Gordy flashbacks. Like, they open with a plot B flashback.
I hate it.
And it is the aftermath of the event in question. So you aren't even building suspense to this violent event. You are seeing that it has already taken place, and you can infer, just based with visual information, what has happened. Like, it is immediately apparent, especially if this is a phobia of yours or a concern of yours.
Yeah.
It is obvious what has taken place, and as soon as that opened the film, I was like, oh no. Jordan Peele, you've got me right. Right in my most vulnerable topic. So that's why it is his scariest film to me, is because of the Gordy parts, and how I'm particularly fearful of that situation. But it's also his least scary film because it is, in terms of the A-plot, a lot of it feels like an adventure film rather than a horror film. There's a lot more expansive adventure in that, on the horse farm.
That sounds like a nice contrast, though.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Oh, certainly. I don't think it suffers for that. It's just different from his two previous films, Get Out and Us, which were much more contained. For the most part, those took place in, like, single locations, like one house.
Yeah.
Largely. But here you have this expansive horse farm in the valley, in a valley, and you're in the Wild West Park, and you're in other locations as well. There's like a proxy for a Best Buy that they go to, and stuff like that. And it's certainly his most expansive film in terms of the scale of the locations where things are taking place, but also, I believe, his most expansive film in terms of all of the ideas and themes that he's tackling. There are, I think, a lot of layers of ideas that are being brought to the surface here. There's, definitely commentary on how people process their past trauma. There's commentary on, like, complex family relationships. I think, to me, a lot of it has to do with the nature of not just film and the film industry, but the more fundamental nature of capturing subjects on film, and how our relationship to the subjects of film and media has changed as technology has changed, where film used to be a very limited resource that only very few people could afford or had the equipment to capture something on film, all the way until now, where everyone has a camera phone and everything can be recorded. And how does that change your relationship with the subjects of the things you're recording?
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the push-pull relationship between spectacle and respect for the subject of what you're documenting. But all of these different ideas are being presented to you, while also, in my opinion, there's a lot of apparent homage being paid to big, sort of scary adventure films of the past. And in my mind, this is a film that has many parallels to one of my favorite films of all time, which is Jaws. I could definitely write you a paper about all of the parallels that Nope has with Jaws. I won't go into all of them, or probably not even most of them, because that would be spoilers, but Kat, you and I can probably discuss that someday after you've watched it. The whole time I was like keeping a running list in my head. I was like, oh, look at that, and now this person. I was like, oh God, this is amazing, because I hold Jaws in such high esteem, and I think Jordan Peele does as well.
Yeah.
I think based on what I've seen him tweet about, I think he also has an affection for that film, so it was really pleasing to me.
And I was just talking in like the last episode about how there's not enough good adventure type movies anymore. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, and just like Jaws, that is the exact vibe, where I wouldn't call Jaws a horror movie, though it is scary some of the time, but it's mostly an adventure, and that's how I feel about most of Nope. It strikes the exact same balance. And so, yeah, you basically have a team that is assembled, that Daniel and Kiki, their characters assemble this team to aid them in trying to capture this craft on film. And that's the main motivation of what they're doing for most of the movie. I have like a short list of things that I particularly loved about the movie, now that we have established like the basic scope and parameters of what takes place. I really loved, something I particularly like about Jordan Peele's direction and his storytelling is his facility with giving you a ton of information in a purely visual way. There's a prologue section of the film where Daniel's father is still alive, and you see an event that happens with him and the aftermath of that, and so much of it takes place without dialogue, but you understand exactly what happened just by looking at the images and the visual information you're presented with. And that's something I always appreciate, is that efficiency of storytelling. And that's not just present in the beginning, but present throughout. There's so much information that you're gleaning just by the sets and all kinds of things. So that's still a really high quality part of the film. And I also really liked that the movie gives a lot of respect to the crew and the behind the scenes people that support all of these, all of the film industry and, television industry and things like that. This gives you a really great appreciation for all of those people, because, oh my God, a film requires hundreds of people to make it. And you only ever really hear or see or talk about just a small handful of them. So I really liked that aspect. I really liked Daniel Kaluuya's performance in the movie, because it's very quiet and stoic and understated.
I feel like that reminds me of his role in Get Out as well.
It's a different vibe in this, though. It's I don't know how to describe what makes it different. He doesn't really let people off the hook in social situations with humor or good nature or things like that. He's much more of a, you can tell he's been working on a farm his whole life. And I really liked his performance. Another element that was just amazing was the cinematography. They're in a really picturesque location, and the director of photography was Hoyte van Hoytema, the same DP that I talked about that did Dunkirk.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course it was beautiful and just incredibly shot. It was stunning. It was amazing. I think that guy is quickly becoming my favorite director of photography. I think he's right up there with Roger Deakins and he's gonna be one of the greats, probably.
Cool.
Just based on what he's done so far. He does a great job here. Everything looks great. And
I love how much I learn about, like, the different aspects of film when we talk about film, because I know very little about film, and I feel like most of what I do know, I have learned through conversations with you, and then being like, I don't know what that means, and like Googling it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, another element, this is probably the first time I'm shouting this element out on the pod, the sound mixing was amazing. I mean, first of all, this is a movie that is very horse heavy, and there's nothing like the sound of a hoofbeat on film.
Oh.
That's just great. But then there's also all of these otherworldly sounds that have to be, invented and created to tell this story. And that was so excellent as well. I mean, there's a whole sound team. Johnny Byrne, I think he was the supervising sound editor and sound designer, and he and his team just did a standout job. The soundscape was very engrossing and striking, and when you mix that in with the striking visuals, it's just a really immersive experience, and it really adds to, like, what I was talking about with what a grand scope this film has. And so, gosh, it was just the craftsmanship that went into it is very apparent. And my final standout point that I want to talk about is regarding the main subject of the movie, which is, like, the extraterrestrial element. And I was excited when I, surmised from the trailer that would be what this film is centrally about, because I think that's interesting just at face value. But what Jordan Peele did with that subgenre was really original and compelling. Like, he took that subgenre and portrayed it in a different way, through a different framework that I completely did not expect whatsoever. And it was a really refreshing take on the alien subgenre of sci-fi / horror. And the thought that went into how he framed it, and the detail, and the way it is revealed to you over time that this is the nature of this life form, was excellent. It was like the amount of thought and detail that I would compare to what Denis Villeneuve did with Arrival, where there was like a whole language and it was structured in this way. Like, it was like, wow, this person really thought about this, and I love the originality with which they're portraying this life form. It was sort of like that feeling.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, so finding out the true nature of the antagonist was a real treat to me.
Ooh. I didn't know how much the movie would get into that just from watching the trailer. It almost seemed more of like an Independence Day type thing to me, where you get very little knowledge about what the alien species is in that movie.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's really cool.
Right. I won't say any more because I don't want to ruin it.
Okay. It's such a shame that I don't go to the movies very often. I might have to go to the movies by myself for this one.
Oh, hell yeah. I love going to the movies alone.
Movies are such a social thing to me. Even if you're just like sitting next to somebody, I find it a lot more satisfying.
Mm-hmm. I find that ruins it for me. Because I don't want to be worrying about what the other people or person think about it. I just want to focus and be like, I love this, I love that. or, you know, maybe I don't love that, but I don't want to be worrying about whether the other person likes it or not, you know, having to arrive at a specific time to suit other people's schedules. I like walking to the cinema on my own time and showing up alone and just not having to worry about anything else other than the film.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much spectacle that this is available also on IMAX. I just saw it on a regular screen, but watch this however you can. It'll be great either way. There's just like a lot of big spectacle set pieces that really lend themselves to seeing this in a theater. Like the same way I was really happy I saw Dunkirk in a theater.
I thought you were going to say Dune.
Or Dune. Absolutely. Same with Dune. I'm so glad I saw that in a theater.
Yeah, that was really good in a theater.
Because of the scale and the scope and, I mean, I love the theater experience. The worm is worth it. So, there's a lot to enjoy, even if you just like things that are spectacle related. There's a lot to enjoy in terms of discussing what the messages were at different levels. This is definitely a movie that I think has multiple messages, and there's a lot to discuss. Will and I walked like 20 blocks home after we watched it, and we were, you know, tossing ideas back and forth about like, well, what do you think this meant, or what do you think that meant? And you know I love doing that part of processing a film. And I just want to say, Stephen Yeun's character, his character is perhaps, he was to me the most complex and puzzling character in terms of his motivations and why he did certain things and where he was coming from. And I like that about his character. I think there's a lot to unpack about him that I haven't fully parsed out for myself, but I really enjoy thinking about it, and I'm looking forward to hearing other people's takes on what we're meant to take away from him. But, man, there's a lot of good stuff in this movie. I can't wait to watch it again.
You talking about you and Will walking home after the movie let out makes me think of when I went and saw Us with my partner Scott. We walked to our movie theater, which is probably like a 15-minute walk from the house. And the whole way back, I would not stop talking about like everything I thought about Us. And it was just like a really thought-provoking movie for me in the same way. And I love that every Jordan Peele movie leaves me feeling like that. Like, I feel like there's so much processing that has to be done after a Jordan Peele movie, and I just love it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not all superficial. Like, there are things to dissect and mull over, and I love that about films. And I should say, like, the humor that Jordan Peele incorporates into his movies is also present in Nope as well. There's a lot of humorous moments, and I don't know, there's great characters. I love the team they assemble to help them in their endeavor. There's this sweet, sweet boy named Angel. The character's name is Angel. He's played by Brandon Perea, and he works at the Best Buy proxy store, and he helps them install a bunch of cameras and stuff, and he is very into ancient aliens and I love it.
Things of that nature. I love what he brings to the team. Another team member they recruit is a documentarian filmmaker whose character's name is Antlers Holst. He's played by Michael Wincott, and I believe deep down in my heart he's meant to be some facsimile of Werner Herzog, who I absolutely delight in all things Werner Herzog as a person. So I believe in my heart that Antlers Holst is meant to be some version of Werner.
I love
and
that.
God, his office in the movie is absolutely killer. I love his office. So look out for that when you watch the movie.
Yes.
It's my dream office. Yeah, there's just so much to love about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe one day if we have a Patreon, I'll do a special video that's me comparing all the parallels between Jaws and Nope.
Oh, yes.
Wouldn't that be some
that.
nice...
Oh, I think that would be so
fun
cool.
content?
Yeah.
I think this is a very mild, unimportant spoiler, so just like one parallel between Nope and Jaws that I loved very much was how Nope borrows from Jaws in terms of finding ways to visually and also through means of audio to represent the presence of this antagonist that can't be shown outright. So you know how in Jaws they don't show the shark very much until the very end. He's just, his presence is implied through the score, but also through this visual motif of the barrels, those yellow barrels that are attached to him.
Oh, yeah.
You almost don't see the shark at all for a very long time, but you know he's there because you can see the barrels have surfaced, and you're like, oh, fuck, the shark is here. And so that is an excellent technique for building tension without showing your hand by showing the actual shark. I love that. And Jordan Peele does something very, very similar here through the use of this like string of flags and through the use of visual representations of power outages and through audio as well. And I just particularly appreciated that technique to insinuating that danger is nearby without showing it directly. Yeah. I love that subtlety.
That's cool. I love that. I'm so excited. I'll have to rewatch Jaws also.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, God, that sounds so good. Now I've got to... Maybe I'll put feelers out and be like, will anyone go to the theater with me?
Just go.
I'm so scared.
Why? Scared of what?
I don't like going to the theater alone.
But what are you scared of?
Being scared.
Oh, you're being scared. You're scared of being scared alone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, maybe. Especially if it's like... The type of horror that you're describing doesn't seem like the type of horror that would, like, leave too much of a lasting, haunting impression in my mind.
Right. Yeah, like I said, in many ways, I think this is the least scary Jordan Peele film. But you do always find ways to surprise me in the things that you find truly frightening.
But that's why we love me.
Yes. That's why we love me. Yeah, that's all I want to say about it, because I want people to go in and be surprised and be thrilled and have
go
a good
support
time.
Your local theaters.
Yeah,
because
and support
COVID did not do them a good thing.
Yeah, go out to the theater, support theaters, and support original storytelling. I admire Jordan Peele's commitment to original stories so much. I don't think I could fully express it in words.
Oh, I'm actually curious. Where would you rank Nope with the other Jordan Peele films?
Yeah, we talked about this after the movie as well. I would rank it second of the three. So Get Out is my favorite, then Nope, then Us. I know we disagree about that as well.
I think... Well, really where I think that comes from is I waited so long to watch Get Out that I already knew everything that was going to happen, and that changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Like when you already know what's going to...
That's why you gotta run to the theater right now before people spoil it for you.
Yeah. So, like, if I could just rewind the clock and... have a completely fresh experience watching that movie again for the first time, I think it would be better. Ooh, that should be a top 5 list that we have. Is like, what are your top 5 pieces of content that you wish you could experience for the first time again? Like, what would you want to, like, watch with fresh eyes and no memory of seeing it before?
Wow. Yeah, that would take a lot of consideration. That's a good one. You should put it on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're just giving yourself more reasons to go see it in the theater. Get someone to go with you.
I will.
Take anyone.
So, we've still got to do our Friend diagram.
Yes. What are the commonalities between Fringe and Nope?
Well, two things stuck out to me. Obviously, I don't have, like, all of the details of Nope, having not seen it, but it seemed like there were common themes of processing past trauma, and, like, trying to deal with that or heal from it. And also, family dynamics and, like, potentially, like, issues in your family dynamic and dealing with those as well. Yeah. Those were two things that stuck out to me when you were talking.
Definitely. I think both of those are very true. Certainly working through complex family dynamics with Daniel and Kiki's characters being brother and sister and having to try to keep this business afloat, but just being very different people. And that's, very satisfying to watch them work through, much in the same way I think watching Peter and Walter work through their family issues is for Fringe. I mean, even more superficially than that, they're both sci-fi properties.
Yeah, totally.
Which I think this is the first time I would say outright that one of Jordan Peele's films is sci-fi. I think you could make the argument for the other two, but it's much more front and center for Nope.
Yeah, definitely the other two lean more on that horror aspect.
Yeah. I can think of one more, but again, it would give away the thing I really don't want to give away. So I'll just leave it. I can leave it at that. We can talk about it later at some point if you see it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that, I guess.
Okay. Thanks for joining us this week on Friend Diagram. Thank you to Tyler Seek for the creation of our intro and outro music. Did you take any of our recommendations? Have any thoughts on the show? Let us know at frienddiagrampod@gmail.com, and we might read your email on a future episode. If you can, please take a moment to rate and review the show on your podcast app of choice, and we'll see you back here, same place next week. Bye for now.